Namaste, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well on this fine day. So I'd like to talk for a moment about living in the now. It seems to be one of those things that it's kind of taken the world by storm. We have so many modern day philosophers or spiritualists who say, you have to live in the now. Eckhart Tolle is a good example. And I find them also dry, and it seems like there's an aspect of it that's not quite understood. And I think it's that while a person needs to be embracing the moment, they need to be aware of the past and the future. And we know that. So there's a fine balance between enjoying the moment and being aware. I guess a good example for me would be, and the one I want to use today would be, like when you're at work. And it seems to be, there's the work loop, the work-home loop, where this isn't the same for everyone, because some people love their job, some people hate it. Some people love home, some people hate it. But there are people who work extra hours, and they put in these really long shifts and say, well, I'm doing it for so make extra money. But to support my family, and often it's actually that they just don't enjoy spending time with their family, that they know work better. It's not that they don't like their family. See, that's the misunderstanding. It's that they don't know how to live a valuable life as a family unit. And this isn't everyone, but when a person sees certain values that they have to embrace, such as raising kids, which is the hardest damn thing there is out there. You can raise kids with minimal effort. Anybody can raise a kid. Raising a valuable, cultured human is a totally different story. Anybody can raise. That's my neighbor. He got in a big argument for peeling out on my street, and all my neighbors came out and raged out. He thinks he's cool because he drives a truck. He's a good example of a person who doesn't know how to function in the in the normal way. People who he moved into the neighborhood. I'm glad he drove by. It's a good example. He didn't understand how to behave in a community. He must have come from a place where, neighbors yell and cause trouble and make noise and stuff, and around here it's quiet. So when he peeled down the street and he yelled at my neighbor, I had like 6 guys out here, telling him how it is. And sometimes we have these moments of clarity where we see how not to behave, and living with value is one of the most difficult things to do. And living in the now means living with value. It means that you've embraced everything that you have and everything that you are. When I sit in traffic for about 2 hours a day, like 45 minutes to get to work, and then about an hour and 15 minutes to get home, and it's about 10 to 12 miles away. It's about an average of 10 miles an hour all the way home. And that's the time for me to embrace my now. Rather than fight the current and go against the grain of life, Every time I find myself getting frustrated, just forget about it. Look around. Just enjoy the moment. And take into account all the different things I could be doing, or I could be in pain, or I could be crippled, I could be dead. There are a lot of different things it could be. And it's a different way of looking at things, rather than saying, I could have this, or I could be this, and saying that I could be better. I always see things from the aspect of it could be worse. And I'm human, so I make errors of judgment. I have thought patterns that are not conducive to life and to healthy life, And rather than just say that's just the way it is, I try to embrace those. And a couple of years ago, if you'd asked me, do people change, I would say, oh no, people are stuck in their ways. In a lot of cases that's true, but people don't change, values change. And when a person develops value, their whole life changes. The little things don't get to you anymore. The mundane tasks of life can become very important. And some of the more tedious things that we come across can become things we embrace. Like, a challenge, or another job, or something you have to finish. Think of it differently. Every time you do that, you're wiring your brain to think that way in the future, and it gives you a system of values to fall back on, and it's something that can never be taken away. And I think that of all the people who save things, or save money, or try to stock up for their future, all I can say is that that's great, but do it after you've stocked up on values. And having and wanting more will detract from value. So it will put you in a state where you think that you're succeeding, such as, I've moved up in the business, I've moved up in the corporate world, look at me now, look at what I have, look at the fancy hat that I wear. But in the end, that means nothing, because you will retire. And when you retire, you won't have that title anymore. People in the workplace will fight and battle their way to the top. And they'll spend 20, 30 years trying to get to the position so they can hold it for 5 years, so they can retire with that title. But as soon as the person's retired, they have nothing. And I think that most people who have gone through that idea that it's so important to be somebody have found in their later years that being somebody has nothing to do with work. It has to do with how you work, or the quality of work that you do, and how much love you put into what you do. But it's not work. Your title should have nothing to do with your career. Your title should be based on your actions. And I guess what I'm getting at is that saving up, stocking up value is a worthwhile commodity, because it doesn't go away and it can't be stripped from you. And when you retire with your values, you'll carry them to the grave. So it's really irrelevant whether you're religious or an atheist or anywhere in between, because value and morals are something that the religious person will take into their afterlife, or the atheist thinks that they will die with. But when we have a materialist sense, we think that, well, we should get what we can while we're here, and fuck what happens later. And a lot of folks will say, well, I don't believe that there's an afterlife, I don't believe that there's reincarnation, I just believe that this is it, one shot, and we're done. That shouldn't change the values. That shouldn't change the way a person lives, because a person has to live in law with nature and with fellow humans. So your behavior is very important in this world, and that's why I think even people who are, some of the people who are the least maybe religious still have some stronger values. And I don't know, it's all in perspective. Everything's perspective. So make the perspective the best it can be, and stock up on that damn value. It's not in a pocketbook. It's in the heart. And I guarantee that if you start changing thinking patterns, then your life will fall into perfect alignment. It's not going against the flow. Don't go against the flow. Don't go against the water. Just ride the current and see where it takes you. And I guarantee that it won't take you anywhere except for forward and up. You can't fall back. A person who lets life take them and has good values doesn't lose out. They don't miss out on anything. In fact everything is that much better. It means that you could be in one of the worst situations you've ever been in, such as being completely broke and in pain, and turn that around and into the best time of your life. Because we only have one shot at being you, regardless of what happens before or after death. You have one shot at you as a person. So be the best you can be. I mean, don't you want people to look at you like a person who cares? I mean, because I do, and I know some people maybe don't, but I think deep down inside the heart, in each person's heart, everybody wants to be recognized as being a good person. And so we put these blames on society for why we're not a good person. And ultimately, it's all in our hearts. And this is why a lot of people don't seek. It's because when you start seeking, you find. And when you start finding, you realize that you have to change your behavior patterns in order to truly reach a satori or an awakening. And most people don't want to change their patterns. Because in order to live in the light, you have to embrace everything and give everything up. So, take from it what you will. It's a beautiful world out there. Namaste.